Welcome to the next episode of the Default Profitable Podcast. You're listening for stories of successes, failures, and some, odd things that happen to business owners. I'm your host, Matt Nettleton, and today my guest is Phil Schumacher. Phil, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Matt. I appreciate it.
You've done plumbing work at my house, and we've talked a little bit, but why don't you take 2 or 3 minutes, introduce yourself to the people who are listening?
Yeah, so we're a full-service plumbing service company. We do some light commercial, some also some new construction, lighter stuff, whatever's requested by special requests from homeowners and contractors. We specialize in drains, specialize in high-quality, ethical, expert-driven solutions, for the residential plumbing services. Obviously, like I said, sewer line replacements, water service replacements, backflow testing for commercial settings and things like that. And just trying to educate homeowners. Really felt that there was a gap in between the service side of things and the rest of the industry. So I just thought it was a great idea to kind of start my own and keep rolling that way.
So are you from Indianapolis originally?
No, I'm actually personally originally from Evansville, Indiana, which is obviously the southwestern tip of Indiana, just on the border there. Grew up there my whole life until I went to college basically. Played college football at Southern Illinois University for 3 years, and then transferred and played college basketball at Oakland City University, which is just north of Evansville. A small Division II school, and graduated with a degree in criminal law, but realized that that's not what I wanted to do.
And so plumbing was the next logical alternative?
Step by step wise, actually, I was just kind of trying to find myself. I did probation and parole for a while and just didn't really fit my moral aptitude. Wasn't a real big fan of that. So then I got into some sales and service for a petroleum company that constructed like gas stations and POS systems or point of sale systems for that. Then kind of just drifted away from that a little bit. Got started in some new construction from a buddy, plumbing from a buddy that thought that I would like it, and I pretty much fell in love with it. Went from new construction to service because I got to actually converse with customers and help them with their needs and see what problem solving side of things, see what they needed from me to make their time better. Because as I always tell my wife, nobody ever really called me for anything good. So it's really nice to make sure that when I get a call, I can, solve something.
So what was it that led you to go from what is a fairly conservative, get a paycheck kind of deal where you're dealing with parolees and criminal justice to taking the flying jump over the cliff without a paycheck or benefits to be self-employed?
Honestly, as I said before, I launched Prime Plumbing and Drains. I just felt there was a gap in the market. Customers deserve, a plumbing company that prioritized, the customer, provided expertise, provided knowledge, quality service, quality work being done in their home, like I would expect to be done in my own home. And I just wanted to do some things, committed to doing things differently, worrying about, as what I tell the customer, or not the customer, but, my team, and one of our core values is prioritizing people, which, worrying about the relationship a little bit and not so much the transaction, to try and build that off the start.
The way you described that, entrepreneurs, people who start their own business, they're usually at one end of the spectrum or the other. One end is, hey, there's a financial opportunity. I can make money doing this. The other is, I just love the work and the money will figure itself out. It sounds like you were more on there's a business opportunity here. I can do a better job of this.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Not only, a better job, but attack the market into a sense where we could capitalize, obviously, both financially and relationship wise, community wise, right? So, not just somebody seeing a bigger company out there that's, a franchise or something of that nature, making sure that that family, that home that they're in, feel as if, they're being taken care of like it's my grandmother. So it's the grandmother treatment, right? But also on top of that too, they can see the care for that my team, myself, and my guys and my office staff cares for the product we put out and the service we put out. And of course, when you start a business, usually most of the time it's about making some money and providing for your family. So, and that is something that, long term I felt like that I could do. Felt like that I could, grow somebody else. Part of our mission is I want to provide value to not just ourselves, not just to my team, not just to my family, but value to our customers, value to our community, whether it's, the mentality of information about plumbing services, or it's the value of something that happened with a personal experience, to build that relationship.
So how long ago did you start the business?
It had been 2 years this past November.
How long did it take before you hired your first person besides you?
2 weeks.
2 weeks? And how many people do you have now?
8.
When you think about why they've joined you, how much pressure do you feel to be responsible for not just them, but for their families?
Yeah, honestly, that's probably the one thing that I didn't expect as much.
Tell me about that.
That's the one thing that I didn't realize the weight of whenever I started my own company, I didn't realize how responsible I would feel, how gutted, that I need to pursue, continuing to find more ways to make the company money and, make to not just really the company, but make money for these guys and, girls to have the ability to come into work and have hours and make a paycheck and provide for, their family and put food on the table there. And so, yeah, it's been an interesting take, something that I didn't really consider much. But honestly, I didn't really consider that we would be where we are right now either. So, we're really kind of growing a little bit further than I thought we would. And, I didn't think I'd be hiring my first person until after, a year. And I hired him within 2 weeks because I couldn't handle it anymore. We just had too much work. So, just wanted to, keep making sure that we're providing the service that and the idea that we started with, and seeing that through. Not just myself, not just my office manager, not just the service manager, but the entire team all the way through from top to bottom.
So when you look back, you've had 2 years, you've grown, you're up and running, you're doing work, you have income, you have bills. What else did you not know when you started the company?
I would say, the amount of overhead, didn't realize it was going to be that much. The amount of things that I would have to manage, not just within plumbing, because, I tell my staff, like, plumbing's easy to me. This stuff's easy. That's the easy stuff for me. I can do that, sleep night and day, and no problems. It's the extra stuff, the looking into, healthcare stuff, looking into, different insurancing options to make sure your company's protected, the homeowner's protected for liabilities, and all these different things, the different types of insurance, the different costs that go into each individual thing, vehicle repairs, purchasing of vehicles, tool replacements, tool repairs, materials, managing the materials to make sure everything is had and everything is needed, because if you don't have a good structure of materials or inventory list, then that costs you money too. So because the customer doesn't have what they need, we have to make a return trip, or, we just ran out and used our last one. Well, crap, I got to go run to the store. I'll be right back, and I'm going to go knock this out. Sometimes that takes too much time. If it's something small, fine, so be it. But, as it gets bigger, and you get more and more of these things, then, you know, if you don't keep on top of it, then it can definitely be a big effect financially on top of that too. So those challenges for me were pretty tough to not understand and realize how much of, you know, went into that.
You know, this is 120 some episodes, and there's been a consistent theme of before you start your business, you should have a really solid plan put together. How much planning did you do before you started your business?
I hired a lawyer first, and they, you know, set up everything for as far as the LLC started concerned. I balanced, you know, kind of balanced to talk to my wife as far as like weighed the options and whatnot. You know, ultimately, the first thing is she gave me the permission to be able to do so first off, because without her, this is, you know, I work a ton, so there's no way that I'd be able to handle all of this. So, you know, support is huge, right? So, you know, hired a lawyer, got an LLC started, and actually the LLC had started a couple months before, you know, I actually launched or ran my first call, you know, and then, you know, after, you know, did that, I kind of looked into different, you know, CRMs that allowed for, you know, obviously the customer relationship of communication and invoicing and all those things. And then I spent about a week and a half to 2 weeks every day from wake up to, you know, midnight, every day creating a price book and planning out accounts and trying to figure out and understand what the market was needing, what I was needing, tool wise, you know, not just tool wise, what I needed to put in, you know, as my capital investment, and setting up accounting, you know, accountants, setting up the books, all of those things. So there's really just a lot that was involved. The first thing I would start with is, like I said, for most people is obviously the idea, and just see if the market is needed. Once you see that, you can kind of start planning what your structure would be like. Who would run what? How would that work? What would that look like? How your day would look like if you were running that. How would you communicate with customers?
How much strategic planning did you do before your first call?
Definitely. Okay, so probably about hardcore every day, sun to sundown, probably about 3 weeks.
All right. And when you look back, knowing that you had to hire somebody after 2 weeks, when you thought in your plan you'd hire them after a year, how accurate would you say your plan was to start?
Probably 50-50.
You've done better than most of the people that have been on, because most of the people say their initial plan was complete garbage, but the process of planning was invaluable.
Yeah, I mean, the process was awesome. The good news for me is that with my training and what I did before this, or, you know, before I started my own company, working, you know, somewhere else, I already knew the ins and outs of the plumbing side, and I already knew, you know, kind of what some material costs were. I just didn't know the brain power it would take for me to organize that, or the time, because I didn't realize how much time was involved in the back end.
Yeah.
And constant growth, right? Because without growth, yeah, everybody else around you is gonna evolve and grow and learn. And that's literally my goal every single day, not just for myself, but for every single one of my guys. I want them to add value to me. I want to add value to them. I want a customer to add value to me. When I say value, I mean intellectual value. I mean the ability to learn, to grow, to adjust, to plan, to try and just be better, and better to serve the community, better as a plumber, better as, you know, a person. As far as the actual correlation between the two, like I said, the one side, the plumbing side, I know that's that side. Yep, I'm good. You know, even the CRM, it took a small adjustment period, but with my planning period, because it was a different CRM than I'm used to, it was still the same, right? So that side of stuff was good. You know, it was pretty on par. Now, obviously, I didn't know in the planning stages that I would go that quickly,
Right.
or that I would need somebody that quickly, or that I wouldn't have enough time to do all this other stuff. So that's where I was like, oh man, I really messed up there. The one thing I will say that I wish I did is took even more time to research the facts of the back end of the stuff that I didn't already know to be able to better plan. Because yes, my plans have changed. My ideas, some of my ways of doing things, a lot of my ways of doing things have changed when it comes to the actual organizational side of things. But the plumbing, like I said, the plumbing's still the same. Here's what we got. Here's your options. I'm happy to do whatever you want me to do. Here's what we got. How do you want me to move forward? I can go with this. I can do this.
So let me ask this. If 2025, Phil, could sit next to 2023, Phil, the night before you opened up, or I guess it would be 2022, right before you open up, you're sitting there, you get to crack open a beer and you say, hey, listen, I'm 3 years ahead of you. I'm just going to tell you everything works out. Everything's good. But the first thing you need to focus on tomorrow morning when you open this business is X. What is X? What do you focus on? I mean, there's a million things you can do, like you said. But what's the single most important thing to do?
Training and the value of your employees.
The people.
Yep. They're supposed to be you. They're supposed to reflect you. They're supposed to have your thoughts, your ideas. Now, obviously, every person is their own person, but making sure that is an understanding and making sure that whoever you decide to go with, whoever you decide to hire, they are all in value exactly what you value and are willing to put forth the effort to gain that value, not just for you, but for themselves. Because one of the things that I'm biggest on that you just can't teach is a sense of pride. You know, I'll be honest with you, I am, when I get done with a job, I want it to be so good, not just whether it's in my house or somebody else's house. I want it to be so good. I want to be proud that I'm taking pictures of this, man. This is awesome. I want to be proud, like dang proud to be like, man, I've never seen anybody do anything as good as this. And if I'm that proud of it, you can probably bet to the customers, because I'm my own biggest critic too. That's the people, man. Make sure they're who you want them to be. You put the training into them. You help them understand, your goals, your philosophies, your ideas. Just stressing that to myself would be something that's vital. And I've been lucky. But I've also had some that just didn't work out. And I think for myself, I would be a little bit more cautiously, how would I say this, selective, right? And making sure that that's understood. They represent you. Yeah. And not just you, your family, because it's tied to my name, to my family's name. So I want my girls to go to school and feel that if for whatever reason they went to their friend's house, and Prime Plumbing was there, that their friend thought that, that their parents' friends did a great job, so they said nothing but good things about, their dad's company.
Which is funny because it ties in, like what you do ties into your kids' reputation, and so that makes sense. All right, well, that's a quick 25 minutes there.
Yeah, sorry about that. I know I get a little long-winded. I just like to explain myself a little bit.
No, that's good, man. It's all good fundamentals. So, hey, I'm going to remind everybody as we wrap up, if you want more information about Phil and his business, it's going to be in the show notes over at Default Profitable. And if you're a listener, subscribe, leave a review, share an episode. You can help us out a lot of different ways. Phil, thanks for being a guest.
Hey, thanks for having me, Matt. I appreciate it.
No problem. I enjoyed it. And for everybody listening, we'll be back next week with the next episode of Default Profitable. Stay focused, keep working, stay profitable.